I know the story of someone, and even now it still gives me chills. He sold his house at the peak of the market, cashed out a huge sum, and then made a decision that impressed everyone with his boldness. He took part of that money to open a restaurant and put the rest all in on high-yield junk bonds. He thought he had an incredible eye for opportunity, and financial freedom was right around the corner. Then 2008 came. When the financial tsunami hit, stocks crashed, bonds collapsed, and the restaurant couldn't survive. Within just a few months, nearly his entire life's savings were wiped out almost completely. There's another person who was extremely bullish on Apple, putting all his money into Apple stock. But because of just a few bad news items in the market, the stock price crashed by 40% in just a few weeks. This is top-tier logic. I'm Mojo. We see through the logic of money because wealth is the only chip to real freedom in this brutal world. Today, we're talking about the most important element in investing that most people overlook, the one they lose their heads over chasing get-rich-quick dreams about. So many people dream of flipping their fortunes overnight by going all in on a single asset, but as soon as the market sees a single black swan event, they face total financial ruin. Real wealthy people know one truth: never put all your eggs in one basket. Let's first understand why going all in is so dangerous. Behind this lies an objective law that I call the impossible triangle of wealth building. No financial product can simultaneously deliver three things: high returns, low risk, and high liquidity. You can get at most two of those three. High returns usually come with hidden high risks. They're two sides of the same coin, with no exceptions. So there is literally no perfect financial product in the world. When you chase short-term windfall profits, by betting your entire net worth on a single high-yield product, you're essentially gambling, betting that you'll never make a mistake in your entire life, betting that you'll never encounter a financial crisis. But the moment you lose that bet, your wealth will shrink dramatically, or even vanish entirely. How do the wealthy do it? They convert their money into various forms and spread it across different places, using this method to hedge against risk. Remember, those investments that are surging the most right now could very well crash at some point, and the solution is diversification. So how do you actually diversify? For most people, the simplest and most powerful tool is the index fund, that is, ETF. When you buy an ETF that tracks the overall market, like one that tracks the S&P 500, you're essentially using minimal cost to buy all the highest quality company stocks that are most numerous and broad-based in the market all at once, perfectly avoiding the risk of picking the wrong individual stocks. And don't underestimate this move. When you buy a U.S. market ETF, you're already doing global investment. Because those top companies inside, like Microsoft, Apple, McDonald's, do business all over the world. This automatically spreads your exposure away from the economic risks of any single country or region. But stocks alone aren't enough. Real allocation emphasizes matching, quote, low correlation assets. Experts recommend you must put some of your money into government bonds with extremely low risk and stable returns. The simplest version is to put 60% of your funds into stock ETF and 40% into bond ETF. This 60-40 mix can effectively reduce the volatility of your assets. If you're still uncertain, don't worry. Let's just copy the homework from the top masters. You'll notice one common pattern. These truly wealthy people never go all in. Index fund pioneer John Bogle's allocation was 60% stock index funds plus 40% bonds. Simple. Investment master Mark Faber plays it even more balanced. He divides his money into 4 equal parts: 25% stocks, 25% gold, 25% cash and bonds, plus 25% real estate, diversification at its finest. And Ray Dalio, known as the godfather of hedge funds, designed a famous all-weather strategy using 40% long-term government bonds, 30% stocks, 15% medium-term bonds, plus 7.5% each of gold and commodities, so that this portfolio can withstand any economic climate. As for Warren Buffett, he even wrote instructions in his will: put 10% in U.S. short-term bonds and the remaining 90% all into extremely low-cost S&P 500 index funds. Look, none of these allocations are complicated. The core belief behind them is actually just one: as long as you believe the overall market will trend upward in the long term. This diversification means you don't have to bet everything on a single stock. But once you've allocated, is it set and forget? This brings us to the final and most character-testing objective law. Markets go up and down, and your allocation proportions get thrown off. For instance, maybe you set your target at 60% stocks and 40% bonds, but then stocks surge that year, and your stock portion balloons to 75%. What do most people think at that moment? They think, it's performing so well, I should buy more stocks. But rebalancing discipline requires you to do the exact opposite. You force yourself to sell off that extra 15% of stocks, take those profits, and use that money to buy the underperforming bonds, bringing your ratio back to 60-40. See what happened? This purely mechanical operation that doesn't depend on your judgment is invisibly helping you automatically do the most counterintuitive thing: sell high. Human nature's greatest weakness is chasing gains and panic selling, greedily adding to winners when they're surging, fearfully cutting losses when they're falling. And the market trends upward long term, and human nature constantly makes mistakes. These are two immutable laws. Rebalancing's genius is that it uses cold, mechanical discipline to help you overcome that greedy and fearful self inside, keeping your investment portfolio always within the risk level you can actually bear. So you see, the wealthy's secret to asset allocation is really not mysterious at all. It's not about predicting precisely which stock will surge tomorrow, but accepting one truth: nobody can predict the future. So we use diversification to hedge risk, use master playbooks as our foundation, then use rebalancing discipline to overcome human nature. From today on, stop being that person selling their house all in and gambling on one throw. Pick a few low correlation assets, set your ratios, and leave the rest to time and discipline. When the next black swan event strikes, those all-in gamblers will be wailing, but you'll sleep soundly. If this episode helped you, please subscribe to Top Tier Logic, give it a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell next to it. We'll continue seeing through the underlying logic of wealth in the next episode. I'm Mojo,